Well, Matt, Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays here. We're going to have a lot of fun on this show here.
Oh my God, it's a jolly old time. Merry Christmas to everyone who's watching, and Merry Christmas to you too, buddy.
Well, before we talk about our Christmas Day games, let's recap some games from last week. First off, let's start with a thrilling Patriots Bills game. We talked yesterday that the Patriots gave had a good effort in this game, but they lost. But Rob Mayo, Alex Van Pelt were under scrutiny and criticism about their jobs. But you know what? I feel like this was a good coaching job that they did in this game.
I feel like this was a testament to what Gerard Mayo can do. You took one of the best teams in the AFC to the limit and almost beat them. And it started off really well for the Patriots. You figured that there was going to be an upset involved, but Josh Allen did Josh Allen things. He emerged in the second half, which is what the Patriots did not want. And like I said, it was a phenomenal effort. I applaud Alex Van Pelt and Gerard Mayo for getting their team prepared for this game. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, but if they can keep up the trajectory they're going, I think that they're going to be good come next season.
Well, the New York Giants faced Michael Penix Jr. in his first career start. The Falcons ended up getting the victory in Atlanta, but what do you want to say about the New York Giants? They're probably going to get the number one pick. Probably Cam Ward. Some fans want Cam Ward over Shadur Sanders, but and then I also learned that John Mara is leaning towards keeping both Brian Dable and Joe Shane for next year.
Yeah, I heard that report as well. It came from Sportscada, which is a pretty reliable source. I had a feeling this was going to happen because you brought up to my attention. They're going to use the excuse of, "Oh, we didn't inherit Daniel Jones" as the excuse, and unfortunately, that's how it's going to be. So this is Brian Dable's last chance because this year was a terrible, terrible, terrible season for him and for the Giants. As far as who the Giants are going to use on the number one pick, anybody but Shador Sanders. I heard Carson Beck's not going to be ready come week one because he's going for a UCL surgery. We'll get into that later. So I think Carson Beck, you have to push to the side. I do like Cam Ward a lot because that man was electric playing for the Miami Hurricanes. I also like quarterbacks. That's a good question. The thing is, I think Cam Ward's the best option. I think Shador Sanders is going to be the unpopular quarterback on the board because obviously Deion Sanders will get involved. You don't want him to get involved. And I think he'd be a headache for some teams. But the Giants are going to go quarterback number one overall. If Carson Beck was healthy, I'd go him. But then there's also Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers of Texas is also a good option, a safe pick. So between Ward and Ewers, I'm down for either one of them. I just stay away from Shador Sanders.
Jaden Daniels continues to impress in his rookie year. The Philadelphia Eagles snapped their 10-game winning streak. Jalen Hurts unfortunately left the game with a concussion, and Jaden Daniels found Jamison Crowder to get the game-winning touchdown in. Washington found a way to get this victory. They need at least two more wins to get a playoff berth, but for the Eagles, they got to hope that Jalen Hurts is back for the Cowboys game.
Yeah, that's a situation the Eagles are kind of hoping and praying that they can. They're going to win the division because they got the Giants in Week 18, but the Dallas Cowboys in Week 17 is going to be a tough one because that loss to the Commanders, I think, just kicked them out of potential for the 1 seed, unless the Lions lose out, which I don't think will happen. The Eagles lost to the Commanders. Jane Daniels came back down from a 13-point deficit at home. They won the game. They further cemented their status as a playoff team. They got to win one more game, and I think they're going to do it either against Atlanta or against the Cowboys. Right now, the Commanders are in a great position, and I think that win against the Eagles, I think, just solidified their playoff chances.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But we have also another development to talk about here is that the Falcons may trade Kirk Cousins. The Falcons could get a day 3 draft pick if they pay some of the QB's 2025 guaranteed money.
That's interesting. So, obviously, the reason why Michael Penix Jr. got the start was because, obviously, if you saw our last episode, you would know that Kirk Cousins was benched in favor of Michael Penix Jr. because of Kirk Cousins' poor play. you can see things are starting to turn. The Falcons are trying to get some draft compensation for Kirk. That contract, that $180 million guaranteed contract, is now starting to heavily weigh on the Falcons because that's a lot of money that they're not going to get back. They're going to take a hit on the cap for that. And, whatever they can get for Kirk Cousins. I mean, the problem is I don't know if a team's going to want him. That's the problem.
We'll have to find out. But also another headline is that Mason Rudolph is going to remain the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, as Will Levis is still benched, and Mason Rudolph will start against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You talk about a quarterback matchup with Mac Jones versus Mason Rudolph. That's laughable right there.
Honestly, Will Levis is continuing his fall from grace. The Titans have just completely disintegrated. I mean, they lost Derrick Henry. They lose Ryan Tannehill. They lose A.J. Brown. Like, it just kept falling apart. And the Titans only have one way to go, and that's up. But it's just so hard to find a sugarcoat for this team right now. We all thought Will Levis had potential, but unfortunately, he's just evaporated. I mean, there's nothing left for him to do to improve on his stock unless he gets traded to another team.
If you look at the Titans, if you look at it this way, Brian Callahan is in the same situation what Zach Taylor was in his first year in Cincinnati. He had a quarterback that was just not that is washed, like Andy Dalton was washed for Zach Taylor.
Yeah.
And then for Brian Callahan, Will Levis is not it. I think Brian Callahan is going to benefit from his own quarterback.
Well, you're going to see a few teams go to the draft board this year and pick quarterbacks off the board. Right now, the draft board is not official as far as the top 10 is concerned. The Titans are going to be in that top 10 range. The problem with this quarterback draft class, and you and I have discussed this before, is that this year's quarterback draft class is a far cry from last year's quarterback draft class.
Yeah, we'll have to see who's part of that class. But back to the other games here real quick. Let's talk about the Rams and Jets game. I mean, it was ugly for the first half between those two, but in a ugly NFC West race, the LA Rams are 19-9, and I feel like the whole world would want a Rams Seahawks Week 18 matchup for the winner take all of the NFC West.
And you hit the nail right on the head there. It would be winner takes all, meaning the NFC West division crown. And that would be the 3 seed because the NFC South is putrid. Rams are playing really well right now. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt for getting healthy at the right time, getting their playmakers back. I mean, yeah, the game against the Jets was miserable, and the game against the 49ers before that was also miserable. But you know what? You got to give their defense some credit. Their defense has shut down opposing offenses over the last few weeks, and they've done it without Aaron Donald, which I think is even more amazing.
Like, who do the Rams trust? Like, they have Kobe Turner, who I think is becoming a really good asset to their defense, but it is a young defense that is still learning. But with the Rams, why I think they're winning games now, it's because you're right. They are healthy at the right time. They have their playmakers back in Kupp and Nakua to help Matthew Stafford, and then Tyler Higbee's also having a tremendous comeback season.
So again, like the Rams, it's all about getting hot at the right time, and the Rams are doing just that. I mean, we've seen the Rams do this before. They started off slow in year 1 of Matthew Stafford, and then they took some time. They got better, they improved, and then they won the Super Bowl. This was a few years ago. Do I think this could happen again in this NFC? Probably, but most likely not, because I think Detroit, Minnesota, and Philadelphia are better than the Rams significantly. But the NFC is so lopsided, you could probably see a surprise come out of that conference. So the Rams are doing well. I mean, if they lose to Seattle, they'll probably lose the 3 seed and not make the playoffs at all. But I think they have a better path to win the division than Seattle does at this point.
Well, even though the Cardinals are eliminated from the playoffs, we talked about that this season was a big improvement that we've seen from this Arizona Cardinals team. Getting Kyler Murray back for a full year really benefited this team. But as for the Panthers, people are starting to see what Bryce Young really is, because a lot of people we all gave up on Bryce Young as the Panthers franchise quarterback from the start of the season because of
Right.
his early season struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I really think Bryce Young has cemented a third chance next year.
He's played well enough to get one more chance. He has. And what I think is really great to see from the Panthers' perspective is the fact that, we see the Panthers coaching staff have faith in their offense. Now, the Panthers are not exactly a competent offense. They've had games where they've let go leads late, but the fact that we're seeing Dave Tepper put more trust in his QB, the fact that we're starting to see the head coach of the Panthers start to put plays in that his quarterback is capable of, that's all good signs. So the Panthers are a 4-win football team. Is that good? No, it's not. But you know what? It's better than what they were last year. Last year they were a disaster. This year you start to see some improvement.
Well, I mean, you talk about the Detroit Lions beating the Chicago Bears 34-17. The Bears were quiet in the first half, but I really liked how they were able to make adjustments to try to get back in this game in the second half.
They tried to come back, but it was just too much to come back from with the Detroit Lions. We've seen this before with the Bears against the Lions. They tried to pull off what they couldn't do on Thanksgiving, but that couldn't happen. But you mentioned we talked off air about Thomas Brown, about is he the future head coach for the Chicago Bears? You said yes. The Bears look better offensively with him as the coach. The problem is, are the Bears gonna go forward with this for another season, for a full season? Because I know the Bears usually like to hire within the organization, so I think this is probably a good thing for him. But Thomas Brown does not have a lot of head coaching experience, and I think even though he's a good offensive coordinator, that doesn't necessarily make you a great head coach.
There is a chance that for the Chicago Bears that Mike Vrabel is still on their radar just because of his close relationship with Ryan Poles. But if that happens, I have a feeling that Thomas Brown will be retained on staff in some capacity, like as offensive coordinator, and then Josh McDaniels comes in as a pass game coordinator, quarterbacks coach. I mean, Mike Vrabel could be a fit for the Bears.
I mean, he could be. I mean, he fits the defensive-minded mold that the Bears like, and he does have a little bit of an offensive background. But I think the thing with Vrabel is he's a leader of men. That's what separates him from a lot of the candidates. He's a guy that people in the locker room can get behind. So I like Vrabel going to the Bears. I think that there's other teams eyeing Mike Vrabel and other candidates, but Mike Vrabel to the Bears will be interesting. But I think we got to see what happens with Thomas Brown first.
Or Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
If Ben Johnson coaches the Bears, I really could see him make Caleb Williams an elite quarterback. It could be Sean McVay making Jared Goff elite.
Yeah, listen, the thing with Caleb Williams is you see the flashes in him. You see it. But the way the offense has been constructed under Matt Eberflus late in his tenure after the Hail Mary game, it was like a high school offense. It was one-dimensional and ineffective. So now Matt Eberflus is gone. The Bears look better on paper. But now you got to try to find ways to make this team ready to compete. And I think it's going to take some time, but I think the Bears are in the right direction.
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs, they got a win against Houston. But as for the Texans here, this is unfortunate for Tank Dell. He has become a number 1 or number 2 option for CJ Stroud, and then he tore meniscus, tore ACL, done for the year. I mean, the Texans can't catch a break with injuries, but the thing with the Houston Texans is they are in a weak division.
They clinched the division weeks ago, so they're okay on that front. But you mentioned Tank Dell. For those of you who didn't see the injury, it was a friendly fire. Tank Dell caught a touchdown pass, and then one of the other receivers on the Texans rammed into his knee, and it bent backwards, and it just snapped. So obviously, everyone in Arrowhead Stadium was silent after it happened because they knew it was bad, and Tank Dell had to be had to be carted off the field. It was very hard to watch. And C.J. Stroud was heartbroken because the report going on in the Texans training camp is that Tank Dell and C.J. Stroud are really, really close buddies. And to see that happen, you don't want to see anybody get injured, but to see the look on Stroud's face after it happened, you felt so sorry for the guy.
Oh, my God. C.J. Stroud looked really sad, but you still got Nico Collins. You still got Joe Mixon. I mean, I don't think it's going to be the year where the Texans go to the AFC Championship game as you predicted.
Yeah.
I think that when they get Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell back and healthy, then I really think the Texans will be better than 4.
I mean, the problem with the Texans is outside of Collins and Mixon, you're going to have to find other playmakers to step up. So Dalton Schultz has to step up. Robert Woods has to step up. You got other guys that are talented playmakers that we've seen do well on other teams, but are playing second fiddle or fifth fiddle to Dell, Diggs, and Collins at the receiving end. So now they got to step up. But like you said, I know I predicted the Texans to go to the AFC title game earlier this year. But with the injuries that they have, I can't see that happening. Whether they win a playoff game against either the Ravens or Steelers, that's even up in the air.
No, I think they can win a playoff game against Pittsburgh if they're the 5 seed. I kind of think the Ravens are going to win the division.
Well, if it's Pittsburgh, they have a better chance at playing them than playing the Ravens. If they play the Ravens, then they're in a little bit of a problem because the home playoff game is nice, but it all depends on who you're playing against. Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson as a wild card is beatable than Baltimore as a wild card.
Well, talk about a thriller in L.A. Justin Herbert versus Bo Nix. It lived up to the hype, but the Chargers ended up getting the victory and sweeping the season series over the Denver Broncos. And, for the Denver Broncos, even though they lost, I really thought that Denver played a good football game.
They did. I will give them mad props for that. I think that Denver is headed in a good direction, but the problem now is they lost on Thursday, and they got to play the Bengals on, I think, Thursday, if I'm correct. Or Saturday, something like that.
They play the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday.
Oh, so they play on Saturday.
Or that triple header with
the Saturday triple header on December 28th. Yes. So the Bengals are coming off a win that they needed. The Broncos lost. They're playing each other. If the Broncos lose, and I've said this before, the Broncos, if they lose that game to Cincinnati on Saturday, then things start to get a little dicey for them. But the benefit they have is they're going to be playing the Chiefs, who are going to rest their starters. So I think the Broncos are going to be okay. The Bengals are coming out of nowhere, making one last push. But I'm going to go back to the game for a second. The Chargers have really taken off since Jim Harbaugh became the coach. And you got to respect Jim Harbaugh for bringing Justin Herbert back from the dead. I mean, he's been really, really solid. And the thing with the Chargers is you got to see what they look like come postseason time. If they're looking like they're going to be the 6th seed, and you're looking at Baltimore, Pittsburgh, like wherever Pittsburgh falls is going to be interesting. If they're the 5 seed, they'll lose to the Texans. If they're the 3 seed, they'll lose to the Chargers. It's going to be interesting. But if Baltimore's in that 3 spot and they got to face the Chargers, I think the Ravens win that. If it's the Steelers who fall in the 3 spot and then the Chargers at 6, I think the Chargers win. So the Chargers are the 6th seed. It's looking like that's going to be the case, but they got to see who they play first.
Well, and then the Steelers and Ravens. The Ravens got a much-needed win. You know what? I really think that the Baltimore Ravens, I think they need 2 more wins to, win the division, which I think that's going to happen.
They do need 2 more wins, and the reason why they need 2 more wins is that even though they split with Pittsburgh and they have the same record in the season so far, they're both 10-5, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the better conference record, and that's the tiebreaker that they're looking at. So Pittsburgh may have lost to the Ravens and they split the season series, but because of their conference record being 1 game better than Baltimore, Pittsburgh is still first place in the AFC North. But when we get to the games, that might change.
Yeah, that might change. You're right about that. But anyways, now let's talk about our Week 17 picks. First, on Christmas Day, the Kansas City Chiefs visit the Pittsburgh Steelers. In this game, I kind of think the Chiefs are going to solidify themselves as the number 1 seed. And I think heading into week 18, I think they're probably going to take it easy on their starters against the Denver Broncos. I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game.
Heinz Field is a tough place to play. The Pittsburgh Steelers are well disciplined, but they did not look good against the Baltimore Ravens. And even though Kansas City Chiefs has been living on the edge, they need to win one more game to clinch the 1 seed, and I think they do it here. I'm going to take Kansas City.
The Baltimore Ravens, they visit the Houston Texans. This we could see a potential playoff preview.
Pretty much.
In this contest here, I'm going to pick the Baltimore Ravens in this game.
I'm picking the Ravens as well. I think the Texans have done enough to win the division. They've had the division clinched for weeks, but now I think against really tough teams, they're going to be tested, and I don't think they're going to live up to the test.
Who wants to talk about this game? The Chicago Bears and the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, Seattle is still wanting, I think, whoever wins this game, like if Seattle and the Rams both win their contest, we're going to be seeing a Week 18 Rams Seahawks Sunday Night Football matchup. So I'm going to pick the Chicago Bears to play spoiler.
So here's what's going to happen. The scenario is if the Seahawks lose, they're out. If they win, they're going to force a Week 18 winner-take-all with the Rams, regardless what LA does. The Bears are not – I think Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks are a really good team to face the Chicago Bears team. I think the Bears are very vulnerable against the Seahawks, and I don't see them, getting a win here. I'm going to take Seattle in this one.
The New England Patriots are hosting the LA Chargers on a Saturday morning here in California. Hope everybody here is going to get their coffee and all that, but the Chargers might be too much for this young Patriots team, but I want New England to come in there and play spoiler against the Chargers just because I kind of want them to be like 6th or 7th or something like that, but I want Drake May to continue his gradual improvement. I know we're not going to get the number 1 pick, but I think New England gets this victory.
All right, so if you're a Patriot fan, this is a contest where you're walking in with a little bit of mojo. You almost beat the Buffalo Bills, and you're going to play the Chargers. This should be an easy one, right? But it's not as easy. The Chargers are really, really prolific offensively, and I think that the Patriots might put up another hard-fought effort, but I think they're going to fall short. I'm picking the Chargers.
Denver Broncos and the Cincinnati Bengals. I feel like Denver could still be a playoff team, but I also think Cincinnati still wants to, sneak in. But in this matchup, I am going to pick I like Cincinnati at home in this one.
I'm picking Cincinnati as well, and I like the fact that their defense is getting better. They're getting better at the right time. Lou Almirola, you and I were roasting him earlier in the season saying he's lost his touch, the defense stinks, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? They've improved. You got guys like Geno Stone and Jordan Battle stepping up with Trey Hendrickson killing quarterbacks with the pass rush. It's getting better defensively in Cincinnati. But I think I agree with you. I'm taking the Bengals to pull this off. I think Sean Payton's going to have his hands full. And I think that Bo Nix is going to look like a rookie. So I'm taking Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah, because, Denver's been really good this year. I think Denver will make the playoffs, but Cincinnati may need a little bit of help.
Yeah, so what's going to happen is if the Bengals win this game against the Broncos, they would need to beat Pittsburgh in Week 18, and they would need the Broncos to lose to the Chiefs in Week 18, and they're in. But they would also need Miami and Indianapolis to both lose as well. So Cincinnati needs a lot of help.
They need a lot of help for that, but the Rams are hosting the Cardinals at home. So basically, the Rams can clinch the division with a win over Arizona and a Seattle loss to the
Chicago.
Bears.
Yes.
I like LA at home in this one. I mean, I think the Cardinals play the Rams pretty hard. They did that in the last game. I feel like in this matchup, the Rams are going to get the win over the Arizona Cardinals.
See, this is a testament to what Jonathan Gannon is made of. Because last year, or a couple years ago, when the Lions were out of the playoff hunt in Week 18, what did they do? They played spoiler to the Green Bay Packers when they didn't need to. So they basically did everything they could to show that, hey, we're a competitive team. So Jonathan Gannon doesn't have a lot to fight for in this game. But whether or not he decides to be aggressive and play the Rams and try to play spoiler is interesting. But I'm going to take the Rams as well.
In this matchup between the Cowboys and the Eagles, this was supposed to be a 125 game that got flexed.
Yep.
I didn't think the whole nation didn't need to see a game like this.
Nope.
But I think Jalen Hurts will clear concussion protocol to play. I think Eagles lock up the NFC West.
East.
No, the NFC East, my bad.
Yeah, it's okay. So the Dallas Cowboys annoy the hell out of you. They're eliminated from the playoffs, and they beat the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football.
Were you saying that they annoy the heck out of me?
They annoy people. They annoy people because they're eliminated. They have nothing to play for, and they decided, okay, let's just go in there and beat the Buccaneers.
They're just trying to. Here's the thing: they're trying to save Mike McCarthy's job.
Well, Mike McCarthy's trying to save his job, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, I get it. I mean, he doesn't want to roll over. I mean, that's the last thing you want to do as a coach.
But yeah, people are saying that. People said in the beginning of the year he's going to get fired.
But you got to applaud the way Cooper Rush is playing. And on the Eagles side of things, the Eagles better hope that Jalen Hurts comes back, because if he doesn't play, they have a double whammy, because Kenny Pickett hurt his ribs in the Commanders' loss. So if those two are both gone, you got Tanner McKee as the third string quarterback. Not good. So the Eagles are hoping to God that Jalen Hurts comes back, but concussions are hard to clear. But I think regardless, Dallas is going to play really, really hard. Plus, I think it's in Philadelphia, or is it in Dallas?
Philly. It's going to be Philly. In
okay, so
Philadelphia.
So I think that because it's in Philly, I think Dallas is going to have a hard time picking the Eagles. But I think if Jalen doesn't play, I'd go the other way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this was supposed to be America's Game of the Week on Fox, but were you glad that game got flexed out of there?
It got flexed out of there because of another game that I'm actually more interested in that we'll get into in a little bit.
Well, the Carolina Panthers, they played hard against the Arizona Cardinals, and now they're playing a Bucs team that just got spoiled by the Dallas Cowboys. And Tampa Bay is still in play for the division. I think Carolina is going to play very hard in this game, but I still like Tampa Bay at home.
So the Buccaneers need to win and hope that Atlanta loses. That's what they got to do over these final two games. They got to win their final two and hope Atlanta drops one. The Buccaneers almost lost to the Panthers the last time they played. And I think Carolina is trying to salvage what's left of this season. And I think that even though the Buccaneers narrowly won against the Panthers the first time, they're not going to get so lucky the second time. I'm going with the Panthers.
Anyways, now, this is probably a game that's probably going to be a quick pick here. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are playing the New York Jets in their final home game before they go to New England to finish the season in New England. But what's there to talk about with the New York Jets? Jeff Ulbrich is just not it as interim head coach. I don't think he's done anything to get this team to win. But as for the Buffalo Bills, this is a team that I think they're gonna win this game. I'm picking Buffalo, and I'm probably going to be very exaggerative with what the score is going to look like because I'm thinking that Buffalo probably will put up 63 points over the New York Jets because Aaron Rodgers is just probably going to get shelled in Orchard Park.
I mean, I think it's going to be a lopsided game. 63 points is a lot of points.
I'm saying that because the Jets' defense sucks.
I mean, listen, Jeff Ulbrich has downgraded the Jets. They haven't improved. They've disintegrated with Jeff Ulbrich. And I think that he's going to be gone at the end of the season. But the Jets, got no sugarcoat. They're probably going to be a top 10 pick, but they're not as high as they want to be because they beat the Jaguars unnecessarily. So that hurts them. I think the Bills win this one easily.
The Colts are playing the New York Giants. I mean, the Colts are still trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. And in this game, I'm picking the Indianapolis Colts.
Colts, next.
The Las Vegas Raiders and the New Orleans Saints going head-to-head. This Derek Carr was going to play in this game, but he's out for the year. You got to applaud and give Darren Rizzi his roses. I mean, the Saints.
Yeah.
I mean, Darren Rizzi, we gave him all his roses for what he's done with this New Orleans Saints team. But at the same time, I feel like the Saints are probably going to remove the interim tag off of Darren Rizzi because I think he's proven to be the right person to be the full-time head coach of the New Orleans Saints.
Now, as far as who they're playing, can you please repeat who they're playing again?
The Raiders and Antonio Pierce. Because the Raiders last week, they won unnecessarily over the Jaguars, but Antonio Pierce said something that was very interesting to me. He says, "I don't believe in tanking, and we want to win no matter what." That's got to be a good mentality for Antonio Pierce.
And this is a guy who was under scrutiny a couple weeks ago with the Raiders. So to hear him say that is actually kind of refreshing to see. But the Raiders are bad. Antonio Pierce, I think, is safe no matter what. This should be an interesting game for draft position. I think the Raiders, I know Antonio Pierce does not believe in tanking, and I respect him for saying that, but the Saints are just better. I'm going with New Orleans.
Well, yeah, depending on who their quarterback is, I kind of think Spencer Rattler is probably their quarterback of the future.
Yeah, so far it's looking like that. I think no matter who the Saints start at quarterback, they're better than the Raiders.
Well, the Tennessee Titans go to Duval County to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, it's just laughable to see Mac Jones versus Mason Rudolph. I'm pulling for my guy Mac Jones because he's right now starting in place of the injured Trevor Lawrence. And gosh, I mean, this probably is Trevor Lawrence's worst season this year. I mean, I do think that the Jags will be much better next year when they get everybody healthy.
Oh my God!
Where do you go from here with this game?
This quarterback battle is interesting because you got a guy who did not pan out in New England, and you got Myles Garrett's worst enemy. So, two guys who are literally have bad reputations. So I'm gonna go. This is a tough one. These are two terrible teams. I'm going to go with the Titans because I think Tyjae Spears is going to have a good, great game against this Jaguars defense.
Do you think Doug Peterson is safe?
That's a tough one as well. I think that I believe Doug Peterson's going to get one more chance. But if they don't make the playoffs next season, then Doug Peterson's gone.
That's a lot of pressure right there just because – the AFC is tough, and, the Jags should be a playoff team with that roster and all that. But I feel like that when they let Calvin Ridley go, that kind of really hurt them.
Yeah, I mean, this was just one of the biggest disappointments in football this year. No doubt about it, because this Jaguars team had a lot going for them. They collapsed late in the year last year, and you figured they'd rejuvenate from that, but they absolutely didn't. They disintegrated. And then after Azeez Al-Shaair nailed Trevor Lawrence, the team never bounced back from it.
Like if you talk about that Al-Shaair's hit on Trevor Lawrence, I didn't think it was intentional.
It wasn't intentional. It was just bad. It was a bad place at the bad time. That's really what it was. And then Azeez Al-Shaair just happened to be the culprit.
Yeah, I didn't think he meant it. I didn't think it was on purpose when he did that hit.
No, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't intentional. He didn't mean to do it. He apologized on Twitter for it. So clearly there was no malintent or malice against that hit. But the Jaguars, getting back to them for a second, they just completely lost any ounce of energy and confidence they had. And I think that they're just trying to make the most of these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think the Jags, if they Draft Travis Hunter. Man, that would be good for Trevor Lawrence.
That would be insane, actually. The amount of possibilities that Travis Hunter can land in. That's just like something that I didn't think would be possible. The Jaguars would be.
Why I think I kind of like this Jags team on paper is because I like Trevor Lawrence. I really think he's kind of changed the franchise. I felt like since Urban Meyer's disaster,
Yeah,
things have kind of got better in Duval, but I feel like this year's kind of not been their year.
not at all. Not at all.
So you got to give Doug Peterson another shot because there was things that he could not control this year.
Yeah, no, listen, you can't control injuries, you can't control bad play, and you can't control bad coaching. That's all that's happened this year.
Well, Miami Dolphins, is the cold going to bother them because they are going to Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns?
Elsa says the cold never bothered her anyway. It bothers the Miami Dolphins. But the Cleveland Browns are trying to at least show some dignity. I don't know what's going to happen with Kevin Stefanski at season's end, but this is a tough one. I mean, I think the Dolphins are fine organizationally no matter what happens, but I'm picking the Cleveland Browns to upset. I'm going with the Browns because the Dolphins just can't play in the cold.
I'm picking Miami. I really think they need this win no matter what.
Right.
Because I really want them to – because they're playing the Jets in Week 18 at the Meadowlands, and it's probably not going to be that cold in New York City.
Yeah, it's not as cold as you would think in New Jersey, but I think it's still going to be a hindrance. Like the Dolphins don't control their own destiny, which is hard because if the Colts win 2 games and the Broncos actually no, the Colts don't control their destiny either. Really, the only team that controls their destiny is Cincinnati, but the Dolphins need to win out, and that's all they have to do. They have to keep winning.
The Green Bay Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings at U.S. Bank Stadium, where the Skull Chants are going to be roaring at that place.
Oh, my goodness. That, by the way, is what got flexed in as America's Game of the Week.
And even though it's going to be cold and outside, you don't have to worry about it because it's going to be an indoor environment where the crowd is going to be chanting all skulls here. But I'm picking Green Bay to win.
The Packers on last night pitched the first shutout of the NFL season, which is actually kind of insane to think about. The Vikings are a really good team. They took it to the Packers when they played in Green Bay. Minnesota's trying to tune up for Week 18 against the Lions. This is a tough one. But, by the way, I just want to put this out in the open. The Packers are not going to get the 1 seed no matter what because even if they win 2, the Vikings and Lions are guaranteed to win 14 games. One of them is going to win 14 games. So the Packers are stuck in wildcard position. But if they want to tune up for the playoffs, this would be a good way to boost up your confidence. But I think the Minnesota Vikings take this one.
Oh, yeah, because it's at home, and I think the crowd is going to be into it. And
crowd will play a factor.
Because U.S. Bank Stadium is loud as heck.
Yeah, and I think if you're the Vikings, you need to win this game and then win the season finale because I think the Vikings and Sam Darnold would love home field advantage for the NFC.
The Washington Commanders take on the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday Night Football. I mean, these are 2 quarterbacks that were picked in the first round.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick Jaden Daniels and the Commanders to win this game on Sunday night.
I'm going with the Commanders as well, and I think that this is going to hurt the Falcons' chances to make the playoffs because I think even though I picked Tampa Bay to win this game by a lot, if the Falcons lose this game, they're in trouble. And they can't afford a loss. They need to win, but I think they're not going to.
Monday night, we have an NFC Championship game rematch.
But not nearly as good as the NFC Championship game. That's for sure.
Yeah, if it weren't for all these injuries, what the Niners have suffered. But I'm picking Detroit to win this game. I think they get their revenge against the 49ers.
Yeah, I think Lions win easily, and I think that sets up Week 18 winner take all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you mean winner take all for the division between the Lions and Vikings?
Winner take all between the Lions and Vikings, and winner take all. The 1 seed winner takes the NFC North. Like, that's a huge game.
In my Madden league, it was Bears and Lions,
I remember that.
and then the Bears and Lions played again in the wild card round, and then the Bears lost, which costed Matt Eberflus his job.
That's correct.
Anyways, now let's talk some baseball here. I mean, let's tell you some news here that we've kind of gathered here. But beforehand, talk about the college football playoff. I mean, what stood out for you in the first round of games?
Well, there wasn't much to talk about with the first round of games. Each game was lopsided. Notre Dame won the Battle of Indiana by 10. SMU got creamed by Penn State. It wasn't even close. Ohio State got mollywopped by Tennessee. And then the other game was, what else was there? Clemson and Texas. Texas absolutely classed. Clemson. So now, if you look at the bracket the way it is right now, it's 1 versus 8, Ohio State, Oregon, a rematch from earlier in the year where Ohio State lost by 1. You got Arizona State, Texas. That should be interesting. You got Boise State versus Penn State. That should be interesting. And then you also have Notre Dame versus Georgia without Carson Beck. Carson Beck's repairing his UCL and will not play in the game against Notre Dame. That's monumental.
That is monumental. That's probably going to change things for Georgia. But you know what? I mean, Franklin, who got to play in the SEC title game, he has some flashes.
He does have some flashes, but I think that you're throwing him in a playoff situation against a really good Notre Dame defense. That could be something that might cost Georgia, the lack of experience at the quarterback position. So I think if you were to ask me my predictions for each game, I would tell you Oregon edges out Ohio State again. I would tell you Texas creams Arizona State. I would tell you Boise State shocks Penn State. And I would tell you Notre Dame beats Georgia.
I could see Georgia beating Notre Dame, but we'll see. But I agree with the rest of them.
Okay.
But anyways, here with baseball news here, let's talk about Walker Buehler going to the Red Sox. I mean, you now get to face him a ton. You get to face him a lot now, and he's in your division.
We only get to face him 13 times this year. It's only a 1-year contract that Walker Buehler signed with the Red Sox. I knew the Red Sox were in line to get a starter because their rotation was not that good last season. But Walker Buehler, you mentioned it before, you knew he was going to be gone, and that's why you picked up Blake Snell. Buehler just can't afford injuries. If he gets injured, then that's going to derail him because Buehler's at the stage of his career where he has to prove that he's flexible, that he's durable, and right now he hasn't proven that.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about that, that even though the Dodgers lost Walker Buehler, I was telling you off air that in my show league and possibly in real life, the Dodgers are probably going to go with a 6-man rotation.
Yep, I remember you told me that.
And the Dodgers, now that talks have stalled with Teoscar Hernandez, do you think is there still hope that the Dodgers still keep Teoscar Hernandez?
This is a tough one because with the Dodgers, Teo, if you remember in interviews, he kept saying, I want to stay with the Dodgers. I want to stay with the Dodgers. I want to spend the rest of my career here. But because talks have stalled, like you said, and there has been no momentum on either side, that might change things drastically as far as like what happens with him. I've heard rumors of him going back to Toronto because of him, getting like when he heard from ownership in Canada. And plus, I think Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette need some type of assistance with their offense. And I think Teoscar Hernandez would like to come back. So that's interesting. But I think if you're the Dodgers, you need to make a move now if you want to keep Teoscar Hernandez. If you don't make a move now, then he's gone.
I mean, if the Dodgers don't keep Teoscar Hernandez, here's what I'm kind of envisioning. Andy Pages playing in right field. Mookie Betts playing in right field at times.
Yeah.
And I'm also hearing guys like Seiya Suzuki could play with Otani and Yamamoto. The Cubs could try to deal him, or the Dodgers get Ha-Sung Kim. I feel like that Brandon Gomes and Andrew Friedman would be like, we don't need Suzuki, we don't need Kim, because they really like Tommy Edman and they
Uh-huh.
also like Miguel Rojas.
So the Dodgers, I think what the smart thing they're doing is they're planning ahead. If we don't get Teo back, what can we do? So they already have plans in place, which I like. But Teoscar Hernandez has proven to be a game changer with his bat and with his defense. I think the Dodgers would like to have him back. But again, um, the organization controls his destiny. And I think if he doesn't stay in LA, I think the Dodgers are going to have to go with the next man up mentality, but I think they're fine with that.
I think they will, and also plus they have a second round draft pick compensation that they won't have to give up, because I know that the Dodgers really like valuing their draft picks.
Yeah, and that was something that my cousin actually told me. He told me that when you don't get guys back from qualifying offers, you lose draft pick compensation for that. So I think there's a lot on the line with this Teoscar Hernandez negotiations. But I think, once again, I think it's down to Andrew Friedman as to whether or not he wants to bring back his star right fielder.
Yeah, because I'm kind of thinking that the Dodgers, now that they signed Michael Conforto, I feel like they want to go a little younger with their outfield, get some fresh legs out there, because if you talk about him being 32, it gets to a point where he might be slower.
Yes, I agree. And plus, if you play in the outfield, that's a lot of ground to cover when you're running for a ball in the outfield. So it's a lot. But like I said, you either are going to please the player or please yourself. That's all you can really do.
So I'm thinking the Dodgers will be fine either way, with or without Teoscar Hernandez, because I feel like that they have a plan in place to get another right-handed bat in the free agent or trade market. But at the same time, I still think the Dodgers. I still think they get Roki Sasaki. I think that if the Dodgers get Roki Sasaki, that makes up the move from Teoscar Hernandez.
That's a good point. And I know the Dodgers have been tied to Roki Sasaki for quite a while. But again, like Teoscar Hernandez and a couple of the free agents, no move has been made. So I think the Dodgers are waiting to see what Teoscar Hernandez wants to do and what they're willing to give him. But like I said, they're thinking ahead just in case, which I like.
Yeah, in my show league, I had to think ahead too about what I'm going to construct. I sent you my righty lefty matchups just in case, because against righties, I plan on having Mookie Betts play second base against righties.
Yeah.
And then against lefties, I have him play right field so that I can move Tommy Edman to second base.
Yeah, so there's a lot to decide in LA, in Tinseltown. But anyway, one of the more underrated signings that came in was Paul Goldschmidt signing a one-year deal with the Yankees. He's the new first baseman for 2025 for the Yankees after Anthony Rizzo is not coming back. And unfortunately, the Yankees, I don't think they were satisfied with this. I heard that they wanted Christian Walker really badly. But I'm okay with it. It's a prove-it deal. Goldschmidt's 37. And unfortunately, as far as the Yankees are concerned, they're not getting Nolan Arenado. I think Arenado has claimed already he's not going to sign or trade with the Yankees. So that's out of line. But I think that the Yankees are still fine with Goldschmidt.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But it with this move here, I really like this move for the Yankees, because despite not giving Juan Soto all the money that he wants, I really think that Brian Cashman has been very creative. He's been very smart with other needs that the Yankees needed. And I also think third base is still a need for the New York Yankees. Like, I'm hearing, what if they get Gleyber Torres back? But if they don't get Gleyber Torres back, I'm thinking there's an open competition at third base between Oswald Peraza and Cabrera.
So the thing with Gleyber Torres coming back, I'm glad you brought that up, because Gleyber Torres' market is not good. Like, a lot of teams have not given him qualifying offers. So he's kind of just like, do I go to the Yankees again and sign another contract, or do I just be a free agent for 2025, which nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to be a free agent and miss an entire season. So If you ask me, I think Gleyber Torres comes back to the Yankees in 2025, but I think it's just a matter of how much they're willing to give him.
So I'm trying to look here at. I was saying that it could be Oswaldo Cabrera or Oswald Peraza that could start at third base. I mean, obviously you still have DJ LeMahieu, but in my show league, I still plan on having him start at third base.
But then there's also the possibility that Jazz Chisholm, who was put at third base late in the year, could stay at third. So here's what I'm thinking about this. I think if you don't get an outfielder, if you're the Yankees, if you don't get an outfielder in free agency, I think Jazz Chisholm's your third baseman, and your outfield is Dominguez, Judge, and I hate to say it, but it's going to have to be Trent Grisham.
No, you got Cody Bellinger.
Oh yeah, we got Bellinger. Duh. So it's Bellinger, Judge, and Dominguez as your outfield.
If you talk, I was gonna tell you this. Coming from a Dodger fan myself, the Dodgers had Cody Bellinger, and I loved him in LA. I mean, the guy could just swing with authority. I mean, I loved all these belly bombs there, but I feel like there's going to be more belly bombs at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, because it's a better ballpark for him. The ballpark at Yankee Stadium is great for any hitter.
I thought Wrigley Field was going to suit him well, but I think that I think Cody Bellinger is. I think he's going to be an all-star again with the New York Yankees.
Interesting. So
that's my hot take on this, because I think Cody Bellinger is going to shave off that beard. He's going to look so fresh, so clean.
That's right.
I mean, you talk about a lineup with MVP caliber players with Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, who I tell you, my guy Giancarlo Stanton, who I really like as a powerful righty.
Yeah. So the way the roster looks like right now that you got Goldschmidt, and I'm going based on like defensive position. It's Wells as your catcher, Goldschmidt's your first baseman, second baseman, like you said. If they get Torres back, he's at second. If they don't, it's between Cabrera or Peraza at second. You have Volpe as your shortstop. I think Jazz Chisholm's your third baseman, unless you acquire Alex Bregman. And then your outfield is Dominguez, Bellinger, Judge.
My thinking here, I was saying in my show, like, I have Jazz Chisholm either starting at third or second base, because I kind of want Chisholm playing second. I want Peraza at third, or I actually, in my show league, I still want to keep DJ LeMahieu in the lineup.
I mean, that's tough because he's disintegrated. It's unfortunate, but it's true.
Why do you think DJ LeMahieu has disintegrated?
Because it's the age. Age is coming into play. He can't drive the ball anymore. He's had like maybe 1 or 2 games last season where he was actually good, but then he cooled off really quickly.
No, the reason why I say that, because I still think he can make an impact with his glove defensively.
I mean, he's a good defensive infielder, but the problem is, like I said, you need to have a good bat, and he's just not having. And he's not had a good bat.
You're saying that he's not the hitter. He's not the hitter when he once was.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when he was in Colorado, I remember him competing for batting titles. I remember him giving the Dodgers a hard time.
Yeah, I remember that. But again, like, times have changed. That was years ago. Times have passed him by. If you want to keep him in the lineup, you can keep him as a bench player, but that's all I can see him being.
Yeah, I might keep him. I might use him in the lineup, but in my show league, I might lean on not starting him.
And then another move that
because I was saying that in my show league, when LeMahieu was in the lineup of the Yankees in my show league, he was the guy that hit the walk-off home run in Game 1 of the World Series.
That's right. So, but again, like, reality is setting in for him, unfortunately. But another move that the Yankees made, and this actually was this was a little bit of a head scratcher, but you made up a good point for this. The Yankees have traded Jose Trevino to Cincinnati for Alex Jackson and Fernando Cruz. Fernando Cruz is a reliever, and Alex Jackson is a catcher. Alex Jackson's not really a well-established catcher, but Fernando Cruz, you mentioned, was all a Matt Blake move.
Well, with Fernando Cruz, I think he has stuff like Brusdar Graterol, I also think that I'm kind of interested to see who's going to be the Yankees' backup catcher. I think it's going to be Alex Jackson.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be Alex Jackson, because I think the thing is, like, you don't have any other catchers in the lineup unless you get a third, but I don't think that'd be necessary.
Austin Wells is your starter.
Yeah, Austin Wells is your starter. I think Jose Trevino, good luck in Cincinnati. You've got to make your spaghetti arm stronger. You can't throw guys out, but I think Cincinnati is a good environment for him.
Oh yeah, I mean he can really help the younger guys out. I mean, have a leader in the clubhouse like what Terry Francona likes veteran players because he thinks veteran players make impacts. But what is your thoughts on Christian Walker signing with the Houston Astros?
That was a smart move because I think that Christian Walker has more left in the tank and a lot to offer than most of the first basemen out there. And I think that the Astros are still looking to say, hey, we can compete at this level, even though a lot of our guys are gone or old. We're going to be back in the ALCS. I think this move is going to really put them over the top. I think they're going to win the AL West again.
Yeah, my show league last year they didn't win the AL West, but now they look like they can win the AL West again with this move. But
yeah,
is Alex Bregman going to stay an Astro, or that's probably not looking good for that case?
It's a weird topic. I've heard a lot of rumblings that I think the Astros are going to trade him, but Bregman is very valuable to this lineup, and I don't think that they want to take a risk in getting rid of him. I think that Bregman stays in Houston, but if he gets traded, I'll be very surprised.
I have a feeling he will probably go somewhere because I think Dana Brown, the Astros general manager, said that the Astros are leaning towards Isaac Paredes starting at third, and I think that's a really good move. But I also think the Astros probably should look into getting another left-handed bat to kind of help balance this lineup.
Yeah, like the Astros management is very active and hands-on with making moves. But like I said, I think Bregman, like I said, is too valuable. They've already lost Kyle Tucker. They don't want to lose another really good bat. So I think that, like I said, Bregman stays. And then one other person that hasn't really been talked about as much, but you already paints a picture of what's going to happen to him. Pete Alonso has not had any conversations with opposing teams since free agency began. You think he's going back to the Mets, correct?
Yes, I think he's still going back to the Mets. You said that I thought Alex Bregman was going to stay an Astro, but I don't. But that's not looking good right now.
No, it's not. I mean, Houston's trying to keep him back. I don't know if they could.
They're probably not going to keep Alex Bregman. It's sad to say, but at least they're building guys around Jose Altuve. I mean, even though Jose Altuve is kind of up there in age, Jose Altuve, I think, is still the face of baseball.
Well, Jose Altuve is the biggest nuisance to the Yankees, that's for sure.
Why do you think he's the biggest nuisance
because
to the New York Yankees? I think,
he's a Yankee killer.
I've never liked Jose Altuve. I think he was also the nemesis to the Dodgers.
Jose Altuve is a nemesis to a lot of people, including people who hate garbage cans.
Oh, my gosh, yes. I think he's always been the Yankees' nemesis.
Yep.
And I feel like Jose Altuve is still a fantastic baseball player that can still hit, even though age gets to him. I still think he gets it done still.
I mean, the thing with Altuve is he's aggressive still at this point in his career. He swings at the first pitch every time. So that's Altuve's. That's part of his game. He swings at the first pitch to see what kind of pitch is going to be offered to him. But he's very aggressive at this point in his career. He still wants to win at this point in his career. And I think the amazing thing is he's still hungry for more. He's nowhere near empty.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Jose Altuve is still hungry for more here. And then you also talk about the Rangers making some moves. Jock Peterson, a former Dodger, now joins his boy Corey Seager and the Texas Rangers. My show league where I'm going to try to put Jock Peterson. I'm going to try to put him I'm going to try to put him as the everyday DH because I want to try to move Evan Carter or Josh Young to first base.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on Jock Peterson, John, and the Texas Rangers?
The Texas Rangers had a disappointing title defense this past season. I'm very, very upset about how they performed. They're basically trying to get some of the guys back that helped them win the previous year. And I think that they're going to try and make salvage of what's left. But like the fact that they fell from grace so quickly after winning the World Series, I think just told you that they believe they have some tools in the toolbox that they can help. But if they think signing past All-Stars helps them, I think why not go for it?
No, I still think they have a talented team. I mean, Bruce Bochy, I think he still has a lot to give to the Texas Rangers.
He does. He was a phenomenal manager during the postseason in 2023, and I think, like I said, this Texas Rangers team was too talented to miss the playoffs, and they did. So now they're trying to bounce back.
Yeah, they are trying to bounce back here, and I want to tell you what's left here for the other free agents. I still think Pete Alonso stays with the Mets. What about Corbin Burns? I still have him going to the New York Mets. Now that they kept Sean Manaea.
That's right. I forgot we mentioned Sean Manaea. That's a big part of it. So Corbin Burns going to the Mets would be really shocking because earlier in the offseason cycle, we had him going to the West Coast to either the Giants or the Dodgers. But I think talks on those two teams have stalled. So I think that if anything, it's probably anybody. Of course, it has to be Steve Cohen with the money in the line to sign these high-profile free agents and bring them in. But the fact that you think of it as Sean Manaea as your ace, and then Corbin Burns as your number two, that would be really good for the Mets. And right now, Steve Cohen is trying to do whatever he can to buy his way to a championship. That's what he's trying to do. He's got the $20 billion in his pocket that he's willing to spend on this team to get them to win. And they came so close to making the World Series. Steve Cohen can do whatever he wants.
I think so, but also sad news to talk about here. A legend in Oakland, Ricky Henderson, passed away unexpectedly. And also what I gathered is that John Fisher, the A's owner, doesn't have any plans for fans to leave flowers in front of the Coliseum and all that, because that organization is just sad.
You know what? Not leaving flowers at his grave because your owner said so, that's sad. You need to pay that man some respect. He was one of the most electrifying players in baseball and one of the best leadoff hitters ever. And the fact that the A's, his home franchise, said basically, don't pay honors to this man is disrespectful.
Did you see that? What John that state? Did you see that there was rumble? There was a headline that John Fisher made about the A's fans not going to the Coliseum, and
it's horrible. It's horrible, and you want to know why? It's because of the fact that they're moving to Sacramento. That's probably why, but still, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I can't stand the ownership of the Oakland A's. I mean, here's my take on Ricky Henderson. He's one of my all-time favorite baseball players when I first started learning the game. And why I like Ricky Henderson was the guy can steal bases. The guy is like the greatest all-time leadoff hitter in the history of baseball. And you talk about A's fans not allowed to go to the Coliseum because of John Fisher's comments. That's just disgraceful.
It's really sickening. It's shocking.
Like here's the thing. Dodger fans got to leave flowers in front of Dodger Stadium when Vince Scully died. And I would have wanted to go there for that, to pay my respects. And I feel like our ownership group really cares about the history of the Dodgers and its legends. And John Fisher doesn't even care about Oakland A's legends.
And correct me if I'm wrong, when Fernando Valenzuela died, they did the same thing for him like they did with Vince Scully, right?
Yes.
What the hell?
Why you can't do that to Ricky Henderson, who was a franchise great for the Oakland A's, an all-time record holder in stolen bases. He reached 3,000 career hits later in his career. And speaking of Ricky Henderson, he finished his career with my Dodgers.
And like that's what's really like Dodger fans have more chance of paying respect to Ricky Henderson than A's fans do. But the fact that the A's fans had to be influenced by their owner to not say anything is just, it's disgusting. It's disgusting, and it shouldn't be tolerated. Ricky Henderson deserves way more respect than this. But you mentioned Ricky Henderson passing away. I do want to give a little in memoriam. So basically, I'm conducting a moment of silence for all the people who died in 2024. As this is our last show for 2024, I figure we have a moment of silence for all those who died in 2024 who were athletes, including Pete Rose, Ed Kranepool, Willie Mays, Jerry West, Dikembe Mutombo, O.J. Simpson, Andy Russell, Vontae Davis, Jim Otto, Bill Walton, Larry Allen, Jacoby Jones, Monty Kiffin, Johnny Gaudreau, Fernando Valenzuela, Frank Ryan, Bud Harrelson, Norm Snead, Chris Mortensen, Roman Gabriel, Bill Tobin, and Apollo Creed himself, Carl Weathers.
Well, if you talk about Chris Mortensen here for a minute, he was my childhood of ESPN NFL Live.
Yeah, but before Adam Schefter came along, Adam Schefter worked for NFL Network at the time. So it was Chris Mortensen wheeling and dealing the news for ESPN. And it's
I miss that guy like crazy. Chris Mortensen always was so accurate. I always trusted him with what he said about anything related to football related news.
Yeah, it's such a shame. A lot of these people. I think the one that stands out for me.
Here's an article I found here. No place to mourn Ricky Henderson. John Fisher's Oakland exit comes in hot waters again after athletics icons dismiss.
Unbelievable.
Unreal.
Unbelievable.
The Dodger fans can pay their respects in front of Dodger Stadium and leave flowers for like Vin Scully, Fernando Valenzuela. They can do that, but why can't A's fans do it?
It's head scratching. I don't understand this.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta give Ricky Henderson some respect because he's a guy. You gotta that I think is hurtful to his family. You gotta be very sorry for that because John Fisher is not classy with that.
Yeah,
and you gotta pay respects to your legends.
And it's not like Fernando Valenzuela was a great pitcher. Don't get me wrong, but Ricky Henderson was an all-time great. Like that's the difference between the two players. Ricky Henderson changed the game.
He did change the game with his stolen bases, his extra base hits. He was a guy that didn't hit for power. As you know, Ricky Henderson is like one of my all-time favorite baseball players.
Yeah, and
even though I did not watch him growing up.
Yeah,
the reason why I have him as one of my all-time favorite players is because the way he changed the game, the way he stole bases in baseball, and he broke a lot of barriers.
He did. He absolutely did. And like I said, I think that legends never die, but even when they do, you gotta at least show some dignity and class. And John Fisher is the complete opposite of that.
Looking at Ricky Henderson and what teams he played for, obviously he played for my Dodgers to finish his career.
Yeah.
He played for the Boston Red Sox,
San
Diego Padres 2 times.
Yep.
Oakland A's, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4.
Wow.
And then the New York Yankees, obviously, from 85 to 89.
That's correct.
So Ricky Henderson won a World Series with the A's in 89 and 93. AL MVP in 1990. ALCS MVP in 1989.
Wow.
He was a Gold Glove winner in center field. A 3-time Silver Slugger winner, all-time AL, 12-time AL stolen base leader. You get it. You don't get in the Hall of Fame with these type of numbers.
You get in the Hall of Fame easily with those type of numbers. It's really it's remarkable. It's remarkable. Like again,
like Shohei Ohtani will be in the Hall of Fame one day. He's a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Ohtani is a guy who does it all. That's what Ricky Henderson did. He did it all. He was a great defender. He stole bases really well. He had a good eye for the plate, good discipline, all that. He wasn't a power guy, but you know what? It's fine.
Here's the thing why John Fisher's so classy-less. You know the A's retired his number 24, and then he got inducted into the A's Hall of Fame, and you still don't show any class.
No dignity, no guts.
There's no dignity in the Oakland A's ownership group. There's no dignity in like Billy Beane.
Yeah, that's right.
And you also talk about Rob Manfred criticizing, not also saying negative comments about the Oakland A's move to Vegas.
Oh yeah, that was disgusting.
So Ricky Henderson, I mean, I wonder what the A's are going to do when the season begins to honor Ricky Henderson.
Probably a moment of silence at the beginning of the year.
I'm thinking they got to wear the number 24 patches on their jerseys.
That'd be nice.
I think that's what they got to do because he's a franchise legend, and Ricky Henderson. Ricky Henderson was whatchamacallit.
Passed away at the age of 65.
No one saw that coming. I did not see that coming. I thought it was fake news.
Yeah, it took a while to confirm. When the news first reported, it was kind of shocking, but then it took Jeff Passan several hours to basically say, okay, it's true.
I didn't think it was true when I saw that he died, and I was like, was it fake news? Was it what was happening there?
Yeah, like I said, it took several hours, but we got our answer.
Well, let's talk some NBA Christmas Day games and predictions on who's going to win these type of games. I mean, tomorrow, Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs take on the New York Knickerbockers on a Disney Plus simulcast, and I'm kind of more interested in watching the Mickey Mouse game than the actual game,
Yeah.
the traditional broadcast, because I kind of want to see how Mickey Mouse and my favorite Disney characters that I loved as a child play basketball, and
Yeah.
and all that, because I've always loved Disney since I was a child. So this is probably going to be an intriguing game. And then you got a halftime dunk contest. I like the New York Knicks at home. The Spurs, I feel like they're progressively getting better.
The Spurs are getting better, and right now they are in playing position. They're in really good shape. But as far as this game is concerned, I got to go with the Knicks as well. I just think that they got the crowd at Madison Square Garden behind them, and they're playing very well right now.
Well, the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves in an Eastern Conference Final showdown. The Timberwolves, they haven't looked like the Timberwolves of last year when they traded Karl Anthony Towns. But as for the Mavs, they look like they're for real and they're taken seriously.
I think losing the NBA Finals, I think, motivated them to basically keep up what they got. The Timberwolves have really taken a step back. You figure that getting Julius Randle and what's his face,
Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah, getting DiVincenzo and getting Julius Randle would help them, but it hasn't. The Timberwolves look shy on defense because you only got Rudy Gobert. You don't have two centers coming at you, so that's kind of hurtful. But I'm going to say the Mavericks win this one as well.
Well, the 10-17 Philadelphia 76ers going up against the Boston Celtics. I mean, yesterday, I kind of saw the highlights of last night's Sixers and Spurs game, whereas Joel Embiid got ejected.
As if things couldn't get any worse for this man.
Like, do you think the Sixers should be better off without Joel Embiid?
Honestly, I've had enough with Embiid's nonsense. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets traded at the deadline because,
like, who do you think the Sixers should turn their attention to if it's not Joel Embiid? Like, I think it should be Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, I think Maxey should be your locker room leader going forward because you had the press conference, you had the reporter incident, you had not wanting to play back-to-backs, and now he's getting ejected from games. So the attitude sucks, and I think that the morale for the team needs to change. And I think it starts with getting rid of Joel Embiid.
I don't really think this is Nick Nurse's fault. I feel like the Sixers are a way better talented team than they are right now. But if they get rid of Joel Embiid, I feel like that you can start over and try to make Maxey your locker room guy. And I also think Tyrese Maxey, I think, is your franchise player going forward for the Philadelphia 76ers.
I agree, but the question I have for both of us is where would Embiid go if he gets traded? Because right now, I don't like the attitude. And I don't know if any team wants that kind of morale on their team.
I feel like the Sixers may be stuck with him.
Well, that's a problem.
Well, I'm more excited about this NBA Christmas Day matchup. LeBron versus Curry for the first time this year. And the game at Chase Center, I can't wait to watch that game tomorrow. Wearing my Laker hoodie tomorrow. And I really think, and I hope the Lakers find a way to go to 17-13. We're playing pretty good again, but I like the Lakers over Golden State.
I mean, the Lakers took a tough loss to the Pistons last night. I figured that maybe they can come back from this. And plus, LeBron plays really well on Christmas Day. So I'm going to take the Lakers in this one. The Warriors started off strong, but they've kind of slumped a little bit. So I'm going to take the Lakers.
Then the final Christmas Day game, the Denver Nuggets, who started out slow, but they're starting to find their footing. They're going up against the Phoenix Suns. I like Denver in this one. I mean, Denver's starting to – I feel like Denver is going to start climbing their way back.
I like the Denver Nuggets as well. I mean, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray have been the heart and soul for that team. And I think the Suns are more –
and I'm telling you, there has been a lot of speculation if the Nuggets championship window is closing. I don't think it is – I don't think their window has closed.
It's not closed. They're still one of the best teams in the Western Conference, bar none.
Anyways, now that being said here, with that being said now, hope everybody has a great Christmas and have a good rest of your Christmas Eve, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Take care.